Horseshoe crab. There's a decent chance every vaccine you've ever had was tested using this animal's blood. Not metaphorically, actual blue blood drawn straight from horseshoe crabs caught along the Atlantic coast because it reacts almost instantly to even trace amounts of bacterial contamination. Way more sensitive than anything scientists have managed to build in a lab. The company doing the bleeding pays well for it too. A quart of this stuff has been valued at somewhere around $15,000. The crabs get bled and then, in theory, released back into the ocean. In practice, mortality rates after release are higher than the industry likes to admit, somewhere between 10 and 30% depending on which study you trust. This is an animal that's been around more or less unchanged for something like 450 million years. It outlived the dinosaurs by a wide margin, and it might end up in real trouble not because of a predator, but because of exactly how useful its blood turned out to be. Squid. Out in deep cold water, the kind with barely any dissolved oxygen, hemoglobin, the stuff that makes human blood red, just doesn't work well. It's built for warmer, oxygen-rich environments. Squid blood runs on hemocyanin instead, a copper-based protein that turns blue when it picks up oxygen, and it functions far better in cold water than iron-based blood ever could. That's part of why squid can survive at depths and temperatures that would be a serious problem for a lot of other animals. Octopuses and a handful of other mollusks share the same trick. The blood itself is also just thinner, less efficient at actually carrying oxygen per volume compared to ours, which is one reason squid have to keep pumping water constantly across their gills just to make up the difference. Scorpion. Hemocyanin again, blue blood, same basic chemistry as the last one. Scorpions also glow blue-green under UV light, a separate trait entirely, coming from a compound in the exoskeleton, not the blood. Nobody's fully certain why. One theory, it helps them detect ambient light levels and avoid exposure during a full moon. Another, just a chemical byproduct, no real function at all. Either way, it's the standard method researchers and hobbyists use to find them at night. A blacklight, a patch of desert, that's it. Tarantula. Most people who keep tarantulas as pets never actually see the blood, hemolymph technically, unless something's gone wrong. A cracked exoskeleton, a bad fall, an injury during a molt, and suddenly, there it is, a thin trickle of pale blue fluid. For a lot of new keepers, that's the first real sign something needs urgent attention. Hemolymph doesn't clot the way blood does in mammals, so even a small injury can be dangerous, sometimes fatal, if it isn't managed fast. It's a strange thing to learn about an animal, mostly through its emergencies. Lobster. The blood is closer to clear, or pale blue, while it's still inside the body. It only darkens once it hits open air and starts reacting with oxygen. Something you'd only really notice if you've cracked one open yourself. Same hemocyanin chemistry, just a different trigger for when the color actually shows up. Restaurant kitchens and processing plants track this closely too, since how the blood clots affects how the meat holds up during cooking and storage. Chambered nautilus. This one's been around roughly the same shape for something like 500 million years. Older than the horseshoe crab that opened this video. Its blood runs blue for the same hemocyanin reasons as everything else here. The shell does more of the work, though, a spiral divided into dozens of gas-filled chambers, with the animal only ever living in the outermost one. It seals off each previous chamber as it grows, adjusting the gas mixture in the others to control buoyancy, rising and sinking almost like a submarine, managing its ballast tanks. How long an individual nautilus actually lives in the wild isn't fully settled, since tracking one for decades in deep water is difficult. Current estimates land around 20 years. Could be longer. Nobody's sure yet.